proven yourself worthy. Come to How can you be the one standing before me? For what purpose have you been chosen? I came into being for the creation of a new world. And those with reasons came here to make their visions a reality. Alas, their dreams were shattered, and the possibility of a new world has been crushed forever by the hand of a demon. Persuaded by the fallen angel, you destroyed the seeds of creation, denying the reincarnation of the world. With the cold heart of a demon, you rejected the possibility of evolution. By casting aside your humanity, you became the living incarnation of ruin itself. Begone, accursed one! I shall never forgive you for causing the death of the world. My light, searing with anger, shall wipe you from existence. Fool! What good can come of being tainted with iniquity? Be forewarned, demon who was once human. Though I may perish, your soul will never again be at ease. The final hour is imminent. Those who dwell in darkness shall suffer the light of judgment. After the battle to end all battles is won, you will be cast into the fire. Let fear grip your heart. Because of your transgressions, you will be cursed for all.
So, Kagutsuchi has lost its light. By the hand of a demon, no less. Now the world will never be born again. Creation is no longer possible. Birth. Maturation. Death, and being born anew. That was once the way of the world. Yet one demon has changed that.
Created, populated by mankind and destroyed. This cycle is what maintains the flow of time. And now, time has met. In place of the creation of the new world, a new power of darkness emerged. Reigning king. You must abandon all preconceived notions and walk the path of supreme power with your head held high. The great will shall surely curse you, for he will place a heavy burden of atonement on your shoulders, which you shall bear for all eternity. But fear not, for only by receiving that curse can you truly walk the path of First, I must know the extent of the power of darkness. Behold, the supreme power of darkness, created.
done. You've proven yourself with your awesome power.
All you who have lurked in darkness and waited for this day, hear me. A new demon of darkness has been born. The time has come. Together, let us march onward. To the final battle, where our true enemy awaits!
Alright, so that was Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne. As you can see, I just finished the last boss. So the things to remember is, one, it's important to have all the Magatamas. Because if you have all the Magatamas, you're able to have the strongest armor in the game. Now, Magatamas are representatives of armor, so to speak, in this world. They're not really armor, but it's kind of like powered, like armor, like angelic or corrupted armor. And they stop you from getting destroyed by a certain type of enemies. So I consider Magatamas to be like a kind of armor type of, or time of shield type ability. And so once you collect all 24 Magatamas, you could get the final Magatama, which is the 25th Magatama. Now you need that more than anything in order to have an easy fight with the final boss in the game, which is Lucifer. Now, you can beat him without that final Magatama, but that battle will be significantly harder and significant ailment damage. The Masakado Magatama protects you from all type of elemental and raise your physical damage stats very high. So when you take damage from physical damage, you're not extremely in danger. It's very important to get that one because it protects all type against all type of magic and all type of curses, light abilities, dark abilities, basically everything. But it doesn't protect you against almighty damage and physical damage. It basically halves all physical damage. And so that's the thing about the acquiring all Magatamas imperative if you want to have an easy game leading towards the end. So it's necessary to collect all of them. You can beat the final boss in the game, or you could skip the final boss and just fight Kagutsuchi and boom, game over. Now, Lucifer is an optional boss. You don't need to beat him to create your own ideal world. He's only the boss that will happen if you decide to accept his lineage or his path and follow his way. Once you follow his way, you have to fight him towards the end. If you ignore him and say, screw you, I'm not going to fight you, then you never get to fight Lucifer. You just go straight to fighting Kagutsuchi, and boom, the game is over, you create your world. And that's how this game pretty much goes. It's essential to get every single Magatama, including Masakado's one, in order to have an easy time with Kagutsuchi and to have an easy time with Lucifer. Now you could get Masakado, and that's how it is. That's all you need to know with regards to that. Now I'll move forward thereafter and speak on certain things, but that should be it. Now I'm not gonna play hard mode.
A world that loses its power will fade into nothing.
I'm not going to play hard mode. I'm just selecting hard mode, so everything that you acquire in the compendium will be transferred over to you in the hard mode. Obviously, battles are going to be significantly harder, but you don't have to worry too much about fusions and collecting monsters and recruiting people because you have all these characters within your compendium. As stated before, there are over 100 different beasts, so you never have to worry about that. But the whole point of this whole playthrough was so I could archive this information and give it to anyone who needs it. You can only acquire Masakado, the final Magatama, if you acquire the sword, and you can only acquire the sword by making sure you have completed significantly a majority of the game, and more than half of the game, probably 75% of the game, and you're offered that sword. Then you take that sword to his gravestone as shown in the playthrough, and then you get to fight those 4 different guardians of Tokyo, and then he gives you that Magatama. There's also very important that So it's also very important that you create Pierce monsters. Now, it's not necessarily for you to have Pierce monsters on your normal playthrough, but if you're going to do a hard playthrough, a very hard playthrough, which is play this game on hard mode, it's required that you have all of your monsters have the Pierce ability. And as you see, you could only get that Pierce ability from a monster for fusion, if you're doing fusions, from a monster called Remake. And this monster can only, this specific type of Pierce monster, can only be attained from the 5th Kalpa. So once you go into the 5th Kalpa, you go down and you go through the door, and there's tons of stuff online, but it's in the 5th Kalpa. You acquire that Grimikala, that elephant demon, from the Shady Broker in the 5th Kalpa. He will have the Pierce ability, and you take that Pierce ability creature, you level him up only once in a battle, you register him in your compendium, and then you start the fusion process to transfer the Pierce ability from monster to monster to monster. Or you can max out the Grimikala and all his abilities as well as Pierce. Max him out to his maximum amount, then register him, and then transfer our old abilities from this Grimikala into whatever high level 90 demon or angel, whoever. It must be in the 90s. All your end game creatures must be in the 90s, and it's imperative that you transfer all the Pierce abilities onto all 4 or 5, I would say about 4, the Pierce abilities onto 4 different demons when you're playing on hard mode. On normal mode, you could transfer it onto just one other character, like I transferred the Pierce ability onto Vishu. But on hard mode, it's imperative that you transfer that Pierce ability and other stats ability, as well as debilitate, onto every single monster that you're going to fight Kagasuchu in and Lucifer with. Now, you don't have to have debilitate on every one of them, but you must have Pierce on every one of your high level monsters, level 90 monsters, coming towards the end game of the story on hard mode. Why? Because Lucifer specifically does not take a lot of damage with regards to any ability you have, whether it's magic, whether it's physical attacks, whether it's curse attacks, whether it's light attacks, whether it's poison. He's impervious to almost any attack except Pierce. And that's what you want to do. You want to get that Grimikala which can only be attained on the 5th couple on your normal playthrough, coming towards the end of the game, and then you play the game on hard mode, or you play the game on hard mode from the beginning, go down to that 5th couple, and before you fight Kagutsuchi and Lucifer, make sure you have 4 demons that have the pierce ability on. That way, your Kagutsuchi battle is far easier. You could have the pray ability on, so you could have more than one person in your party. Have the pray ability on to heal up everyone. You should have a minimum of 2 people in your party that have pray ability on hard mode. And every single one of your characters have the pierce ability. So it's imperative to have pierce because it's necessary. Now I already have the pierce ability on normal, so when I go back and play the game on hard, I could start my transferring of the pierce ability onto every single demon easier rather than waiting towards the end on hard mode. So that's what I'm going to do. And maybe in the future I would decide to continue onward from here and play at a different time in the near future. But at the moment, it was only necessary to log this information and put it in an archive so I could get back to it at a later time in the future and see what I got wrong, what I got right, and what I did correctly, and how many beasts or monsters I missed. But generally, this is just a guide for me to see where and what I can do and what I could do differently. And in the near future, I would acquire a better stat setup, so I could beat these creatures easier. Like every single enemy that I encounter, I could beat them easier on normal mode if I had the right type of understanding of the game. It's been like more than a decade since I played this, but certain things start to come back to me gradually. And it's essential that if you don't have a guide, you could either look at this video or you could read a guide online on how to create monsters and where to go if you're lost. I think that's it. That's all I can say about this. Everything is done. I've acquired the pierce ability, and I can now start a new game on hard mode with the pierce ability within my compendium and make as many monsters have that pierce ability, because the pierce ability is an ability that could pierce through anything, regardless of what the power or what type of monster you're fighting, even the strongest of all beasts within this game. And that's an essential thing to have if you're going to play this game on hard. Wait to play the game on hard mode and then get the pierce ability coming towards the end. My suggestion is to play the game on. Try to collect as many monsters as you can on your normal playthrough, run through it as fast as you can, and then get that pierce ability and that Masakado Magatama at the end after you collect all the other Magatamas on your normal playthrough. And once you collect all those Magatamas, and then collect the final Magatama after attaining the 24th Magatama, using this sword and then accessing the Masakado's grave. Once you acquired all those, once you acquired the pierce ability, you could then go back on your hard playthrough, your second playthrough, and then start concentrating on getting as many high-level monsters as you can. Granted, you can only get high-level monsters by doing fusions, or by doing co-signings or conversations with monsters, and then having them join your team in exchange for money or items and stuff, which is a pain in the ass, but you don't have to do it all the time. You could run from majority of the battles in this game and then select when and where you want to have someone join your team. Or you could do as many people have done, beat all the high level bosses in the game and then do your high level fusions coming towards the end of the game. Or beat a boss, then start fusing after you beat a boss, then go through the game, ignore every low level monsters, fight the second level boss, beat the second level boss, ignore every monster through the game, fight the 3rd level boss, so on and so forth, ignore all random battles, and do your fusions after each boss battle. You don't have to do your fusion in between, prior, or during the story. You could do fusions after each boss battle in the game. That way you save time, that way you save energy, that way you don't have to worry about getting low level monsters, because once you beat a boss, you've now acquired every enemy or every monster from the beginning of the game leading up to that boss. And then you can fuse and make strong enemies, and including that type of boss monster. And then going from that boss to the next boss, beat that boss, and then every enemy leading from the 1st level boss to the 2nd level boss. Get then a few fusions after you beat the 2nd level boss, so on and so forth, leading towards the end. So those are 2 different ways you could go about creating your fusions, or you could take the long road like I did, and just keep fusing and fusing and fusing until I get something better. So generally speaking, this is probably, if you could shave off a lot of time, you could get this game down to about a 50 or 60 hour game if you shave off a lot of time, ignore a lot of places. And I mean, if you're speed running this, you could get this to a 35 to 40 hour. If you're not speed running this, but you're ignoring a lot of things, you could get this to about a 50 or 60 hour. Now, if you're doing a lot of searching and a lot of researching, but you're still not doing a lot of random battles, you shade off to about 80 to 90 hours, like I did. Now, if you want to do total exploration and see everything, do everything, this is anywhere from 100 to 120 hour game. So it really depends on how you want to play the game. You either take a lot of time, or you could ignore everything and go straight towards the end. But regardless of what you decide, whatever you decide, the end result is still the same. This is a long game. It will take you more than 35 to 40 hours, even on a speed run, and standard it will go from anywhere to 50, 60, and on normal it will take you anywhere from 80 to 90 hours. And on not so normal, when you want to waste time, it will go over 100 hours easy. So it really depends on how you want to play. From my playthrough, I did some running around, I did some searching, but I ignored most battles. That's why I clocked in at about 80 to 90 hours. So that's it. That's all I could say. Go for Pierce. Fuse as many Pierce monsters as you can that are in the level 70s, 80s, and 90s, or ignore the 70s. Fuse only monsters with the Pierce ability that are in the 80s and 90s to make your life easier on hard mode, because you will require a minimum of at least 4 monsters that have the Pierce ability, and that's needed to beat the last 2 bosses of the game, or to beat every boss leading towards the last 2 bosses of the game. Because to fight Ahriman, to fight Isamu, to fight Chiaki, to fight Kagutsuchi, to fight Lucifer, you will require Pierce on hard mode. So prior to the Tower of Kagutsuchi, it is essential that you acquire the Grimacala from the 5th Kappa, and you acquire 24 Magatamas, and then get your 25th Magatama after you speak to Masakado in his shrine after beating those bosses. So acquire all 24 and then get your 25th Magatama, and acquire the Pierce ability from the Shady Broker in the 5th Kappa, and then start doing your fusions to get at least minimum of 4 monsters to have the Pierce ability. Because this is a normal mode. You need the Pierce abilities on more than 2 creatures on hard mode. You need at least a bare minimum of 4 creatures to have Pierce abilities on hard mode. You only need 2 to have Pierce abilities on normal mode, which I had. And of course, Raido King comes with the Pierce ability himself, but he's too weak. You want a beast that you create on your own to have the Pierce ability. So you have the Pierce ability, and another beast has the Pierce ability on normal mode. On hard mode, it's imperative for 4 beasts, 4 creatures of your compendium to have that Pierce ability that are level 80s to 90 or higher. higher than 90, 95. I believe it's essential to have level 90s, nothing but level 90s to have the pierce abilities. You really shouldn't have any monsters in the 80s to have all that pierce abilities on hard mode. All creatures in your compendium who you're going to fight, those final bosses in the Kagutsuchi Tower, Ahriman, Chiaki, Irisamu, Kagutsuchi, Lucifer, so on. Any boss that's within the Tower of Kagutsuchi leading towards the end of the game requires you to have pierce ability on your monsters. And that final Magatama, the 25th. So do remember this if you ever watch this video. Do remember to go to that 5th cop before that pierce ability and make those high level 90s before end game to have that pierce ability on. Otherwise you're going to die a lot and you're not going to have a fun time fighting those bosses, and you're going to waste a lot of resources. So as you see, it was difficult, somewhat difficult, fighting Lucifer even on normal mode with one demon having the pierce ability, but it was still doable. However, the game will not be as forgiving on hard mode. Every single beast in this game will hit twice as hard as they did on hard mode. So it's twice as important for you to max out every one of your abilities and become as strong as you can, and make sure every single stat within your personal stat of your main character is at the highest level. So even if you max out every single Magatama, all 24, and including the Masakado Magatama, the 25th, that they're all maxed out and they can't level up anymore. But prior to you getting into the Tower Kagutsuchi, keep leveling up your level 99 protagonist character to make sure all those slots are completely full, because hard mode is different. You could get away with having a strength of 40, magic of 40, vitality of 40, agility of 40, luck of 40, and beat it on normal. That's not the case for hard mode. Everything has to be completely maxed out to its highest capacity if you're intending on having a smooth ride. If you want to go and try with everything 40s, 45s, or even 50s, good luck. But if you want a smooth ride, make sure your main protagonist, all those bars are completely high level up. Do not, I repeat, do not max out all your bars prior to getting all your Magatamas. Acquire your Magatamas, level up each of your Magatamas, max them all out, max out all 24 and your 25th Magatamas, and then after all 25th Magatamas are maxed out, then go through the process of keep leveling up your main protagonist over and over and over again until all those bars are filled. And that's all I could say with regards to the game. And that goes the same for your monsters. Prior to getting to Tower Kagutsuchi, make sure everything within your protagonist is completely maxed out on his stats, and all of the specific 4 beasts or 5 that you want if you're going to transition out monster to monster are completely maxed out on their stats. It will take some time, but thankfully this game has 2 sections in it. It's called where the Demi-Fiend was born and where the conception happened. Each location gives you the ability to level up fast, where the Demi-Fiend was born, and the second gives you where you can make a lot of money real quick without wasting time fighting random monsters. So with those 2 locations, you could get a lot of money fast and level up very quickly, even in early game. But it's imperative to max out all your Magatamas, and once a Magatama is completely maxed out, do not move forward from there. Acquire your second Magatama, max that out, acquire your third Magatama, max that out, 5th, 6th, max that out, and after you have acquired all 24 Magatamas, then you could go through the process of completely maxing out your bars of your main protagonist. Because if you max out too much of your bars prior to getting all your Magatamas, you will not, there's no might not, you will not be able to max out all your bars thereafter. Max out only your bars within your character stats of all your different abilities. Once that's completed, move on to the next. and to the next, and to the next, and so on and so forth, until all 24 are completely maxed out, and thereafter you max out everything else to its highest level. Never before. Only do it once you acquire a Magatama, and finish up your high leveling after every Magatama has been acquired. And that's it. That's all I could say for this video. I don't have to worry about any monsters I'm going to fight on hard mode because I have now acquired a Pierce ability. So I can now make Metatron, Beelzebub, Vishu, Shiva, who else? Amaterasu, Yadavaskar, who else? Mada, Moth, Ragnar, Nyx, who else? Samael, Michael, and all of the angels, archangels, Gabriels, and so on and so forth. All the tyrants, Loki, so on. Any monster that I could get, any one that I could acquire this in the 90s, I will make them all have Pierce. And I recommend that only beasts that have Pierce that are in the 90s you should give the Pierce to. And it's best essential to do so through full moon fusions, sacrificial fusions that happen only on a full Kagasuchi. And that's what you do. You take Grimacala out of your compendium, put them to the side, fuse whatever creatures you have to fuse to create a Metatron or to create a Beelzebub, and then sacrifice that Grimacala to offer the Pierce ability onto those creatures, just like I did with Vishu. And that's all I could say with regards to Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne 3 Remastered HD Edition. It's good, it's a fun ride. It was pretty long, screwed up the first time, went back all over again, did it right the second time, and now I have to come back to this game again because I already know what I have to do if I decide to play it on hard. It's not going to be an easy ride, but believe me, any enemy I'll encounter from this to the next Kagasuchi on hard mode, they're going to get wrecked because I'm going to have the Pierce ability now. So do those things, and whether you play the game on normal or hard, with the Pierce ability and with the final Magatama, the 25th Magatama, whether you decide to play it over again on normal or play it over again on hard, it's up to you, but it should be a smooth ride. All these things can be acquired on your first playthrough on either normal or on hard, or you could do as I do, start from the beginning, normal, acquire them, and then play it on hard, and then your ride will be easier because now you have high Pierce monsters because you did Demon Sacrificial Fusion with Grimacala. And make sure to get that Grimacala from the Shady Broker, the 5th Copper, because he can only be acquired from the 5th Copper, and he can only have that Pierce abilities once you acquire it from 5th Copper. Now, you can only acquire that ability from that 5th Copper, from that Shady Broker, once you've fused and created the character Metatron. So once you beat Metatron, and then you fuse and create Metatron, having the character Metatron will allow you to have that Grimacala with the Pierce. If you have not acquired Metatron prior to going down to that door, opening that door, speaking that Shaded Broker, you will not get that Pierce ability. So it's essential that you fuse and create Metatron and acquire Metatron and let Metatron specifically open that door. Now you could have other enemies that are high level, but that door will open and you will get that monster if you use the Metatron to open that door towards that Shaded Broker. I'm pretty sure there are other people online who know this or from the past playthroughs, but this is what I'm telling you to do. Make sure you have Metatron, make sure to open the door with Metatron, speak to the Shaded Broker, he'll ask for 200,000 Makas. Make sure you have a bare minimum of 300,000 or the specific amount, 200,000. Acquire the Grimacala, go back to use a terminal, go back to your save area, go back into your compendium, and then you'll see Grimacala there. Level Grimacala up, save Grimacala so he can be updated, and then fuse him as a sacrifice towards creating another Metatron with the pace ability. As you get rid of the Metatron you have, create a new Metatron and give new Metatron the pierce ability. Create a new Beelzebub, with the pierce ability, or your first Beelzebub, or Mada, or whoever else, but make sure 4 demons or 4 creatures, however you want to call them, have that pierce ability. Once you're playing hard mode from the beginning again, your ride will be completely smooth. And that's all I got to say with regards to this game, and that's it.
If such is the fate of this world,